The Ancients' World. Chapter 111, Finding My Family too. Hold my mom until she is ready to let go, soon she pulls away and smiles. I was so scared when you were taken before us, I thought I would never be able to talk to you or hold you again. You can count on moms to be the ones to treat you this way no matter how old you are. I look at the rest of my family and the anger is boiling back, but I put a lid on it. I don't know why my emotions made the area shake, but if that's possible I need to watch out. I walk over to my bandaged dad and just smile. He smiles back and I can guess from his condition that he fought very hard. I'm a little surprised that Haley was even allowed to fight. Dad would never let her do something like this. I walk over to my sister this time and I sit on her makeshift bed. She looks at me with sadness and shame. She was one that didn't like people seeing her weak. No need to have such a look, big sis. I'm sure that you did just fine fighting alongside everyone else. So how about you turn that frown upside down? She looks at me with teary eyes. Must have been painful fighting for your life for the first time. While we can be killed, we can't die. She must have fought hard to avoid being killed. I put my hand on the top of her head and smile down at her. You did good, sis. While other fell, you stayed up and fought till you couldn't anymore. I'm proud to have you as my sibling, and I know that when you're done healing you'll be ready to get back out there and get stronger. She has always been a good person with a clean heart, and the best of her is when she defies the odds. I stand up and take a seat on an old-looking office chair next to Dad. I want to talk to him about what happened here. So how was the fight here? I had a long and hard-fought battle myself, and if mine was tough I can see yours being just as hard. He looks up at the ceiling. He must still be thinking about the fighting. It isn't something I like to think about after the fact. You end up punishing yourself for mistakes that weren't in your control. Don't think so hard about it. I know you and you're criticizing yourself for what you think you did wrong. If you get stuck in your head like that, it's going to take a long time to get out. He looks back at me with regret on his face. He turns his gaze to Haley and gives an expression like his insides are churning. He wouldn't want his little girl getting hurt, but there are some things you can't avoid. He looks back at me with a more normal expression. I should have protected them better. I'm the father of this family, it's my job to handle any threats to our lives. The fight was going fine at first, but after a couple hours the monsters never stopped coming. After a while the weaker players had to take over for the strong, and that's when I joined the fight. In the end weaker players starting dying in the dozens, and that's when Haley was forced to join. If the hidden boss monster wasn't killed when it was both Haley and I would have been forced to go through the resurrection process. I've heard horrible things about it. I can understand his mindset right now, and while I understand it I can't change it. I think just letting him work though it on his own is a good idea. I look at my parents harder than before and I can say for sure they have both gotten much younger looking. They are close to the way they looked before they had me. While this is both cool and worrying, it makes me wonder why it's happening. Is everyone over a certain age getting younger? These are questions I might get answers for. Do you guys know why you're getting younger? When I look at you two, you look the same as you did in the pictures before you had us. I've noticed most players have all started to look younger. I've never seen or heard anything like it. My mom looks at Dad and they just shake their heads no. So whatever is happening to the players is not known yet. I'm sure many older single females are enjoying it. This could prove to be more of a problem than a benefit though. The ramifications of such a process isn't known, both qualitative and quantitative. The long term is unknown right now. It scares me that I don't know what's going on to my parents. Even with future knowledge I only know so much. So anything regarding this new continent is something I have to figure out on my own. Don't be so worried, sweetie, just sit here and relax with us. I want to know what you've been up to as well, like how you found us to begin with. Mom isn't being subtle with how much she doesn't want me to go right now. I don't want to lie to them about how I got here, but they aren't strong enough to protect my secret yet. I'll give them half-truths. My mother is waiting for an explanation. and while she looks sweet I can see she is ready to rip into me if I did anything reckless. So I'm going to leave out the details of my battle. She will go nuclear if she found out. I did pretty good with individual kills, and for a reward I was told where you guys were. Once I found out I headed straight here. I wasn't that far away surprisingly. In truth I was very far away. They don't need to know that, and I hope that satisfies my mom's curiosity. When I look at her however, she is very suspicious of my answer. She leaves it alone though. Instead of standing she goes and sits on Dad's bed. She must have been taking care of them all by herself, and since Marcus is so young he wouldn't be able to do much. Where is Marcus anyways? I haven't seen him since I got here. Mom gives a slightly worried look, but Dad just rubs her back. I'm about to ask what's happened, but Mom beats my speed. He is playing with some friends he made outside. He is supposed to be back soon. I'm going to go look for him. Mind coming with me, Sarah? I see no reason to not join her. I stand up from the chair and stretch out my body. I'm still shirtless right now, but nothing is around that can hurt me. Honey, we'll be back as soon as we find Marcus. Don't go anywhere, all right? Mom says teasingly. She actually makes a decent joke. I laugh a good amount. Dad looks at us as we leave. We are walking down the hall to long staircase. Mom starts to talk to me, and she scares me a little. So what did you really do to get here? You shouldn't have lied to Mommy, Sarah. I know that only the top 10 can get custom rewards. Damn it, she is way smarter than I gave her credit for. I'm extremely hesitant to answer her, and since I don't want her knowing the truth I only have one option left. I have to just outright refuse to tell her what she wants to know. I hate the idea of shutting her down like this, but it's the only thing comfortable for me. I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm not telling you. You will just have to accept the fact that I'm here and safe. I hope you don't hold it against me. You aren't ready to hear how I got here. There is silence next to me, and I'm slightly worried that she is loading more ammo. Please, just don't ask anything about it. I won't give you an answer. You should be okay with accepting the fact that I can't tell you. I throw on some more just to make sure that she understands. As we are walking down the stairs I can feel a chill running up and down my spine. She doesn't like that I've done this, but she'll have to get over it. Fine, sweetie. If you don't want to tell me I won't force you, just know that you can trust me and your dad with anything. It hurts that you don't think we can help you, but you are a man. I have to respect your decisions, not matter how much I hate them. I breathe a sigh of relief, and the feeling Mom is giving off soon goes away. We make our way down the stairwell in silence. It takes a lot of time to reach the bottom, but we do. We walk through the packed lobby, and make it to the street. Marcus plays at the park a couple blocks away, so let's go. Mom tells me where we're going. Must be the park Mom and Dad used to take us to on the weekends when I was young. Haley and I stopped going regularly. Marcus is still young enough to like going. Chapter 112, A Confrontation. Mom and I begin making our way towards the park. As we are walking I can see the familiar buildings I grew up around. This isn't something I would have thought possible. Looking at this old city full of overgrowth and vegetation sure is humbling. Nothing sets your mind straight faster than seeing your hometown destroyed. These tall skyscrapers are what used to be the defining trait of my city, now they are old and ancient looking. When I first saw them I couldn't help my fear. I never would have expected something so scary to happen to everyone. I look at my short mom and see the meaning behind her words. If not for this event we would all be home safe and sound. Not anymore though, we are in a snake pit. The more I think about it the more I realize how lucky we are. If I never convinced them to join me in Ancient's world then they would be gone. It makes me nauseous thinking about losing my family like that, but I'll never lose them. Not this time. We continue walking for a few minutes and the closer we get to the park the more and more players we see. Is something going on at the park? It does seem like a good location for a meeting, but all these players look exhausted. It'll be harder to find Marcus with so many people around, hopefully it won't take long to find him. I look over to Mom as I finish talking and I see her grip her clasped hands tighter together. She looks ready to run to the park after my words. I should have been more tactful. She has that look on her face whenever one of us might be in trouble. We walk for another minute and see the park in view. I can see a bunch of kids playing together. I won't lie, I'm surprised even this many kids made it. I look around since I'm taller than Mom and I can see over the players that are standing around. I spot Marcus having some fun with kids. I'm glad that he is fine. What do you see? I almost forgot Mom can't see like I can. I nod my head to follow and she does. We get closer to the actual play structure and Mom can finally make out that Marcus is safe. Oh, thank God, he looks like he's having fun. I'm going to stay here and let him play a little longer. I see no reason to leave either. Marcus probably won't get that many opportunities to play like this. I stand next to Mom as we watch from a distance. This is going to be a good memory for him. My attention is pulled away as I see a group of players with good gear. They look to be in a party. What made my attention be grabbed is what the leader of the group is saying. While I could use inspect on him, that might set him off more. If you want to join my group or be protected by my group, then you'll have to give up a good piece of gear. It's worth it though. We are all around level 30 and having allies like us will be a good thing. Sounds like a total scam to me. While they may be in the 30s, that doesn't mean anything else they said is true. Taking advantage of a bad situation is something I would do, but I wouldn't rip off people. Now is the worst time to do so, but also a time when everyone is weak and likes the idea of protection. In a way, these guys are smart, and while they use that for horrible things, I'll give them credit where credit is due. Many players smartly ignore the man and keep to themselves. I see the frustrated scowl on his face. People are smarter than he gave them credit for. Only the truly scared and desperate will go to him, and that doesn't seem to be anyone else around. What do you think of them, Sarah? Do you think that they will keep their word? Mom isn't a fool. I can hear the suspicion laced in her voice. She never liked people who fed on the weak, mainly because we were the weak ones. The banks would feed on us any chance they got, so she probably has a sour taste in her mouth. I can't believe people would act so ugh. It makes me so mad. She turns her focus back to Marcus, trying to distract herself from the show going on. I have no intention of interfering. Getting out of here sooner rather than later seems like a good idea. The group and its leader are starting to push people harder than before. I can see the scared faces of the people closest to them. I'm sure that many will get sick of them before long. Ignoring them will eventually work. How about this pretty little thing? You look like you can use protection. If you don't have any items or gear, then I'm sure we can work something out. His voice makes my skin crawl, and I absolutely hate sexual harassment. Many of the females around cringe at the underlined meaning of his words, and I watch my mom shake in anger. I hate seeing my mother like this, and if Dad was here, I'm positive he would grab Marcus and take them back. Many wouldn't be able to stand up to these guys. They are hardcore players. Being in the 30s is a testament to that. They continue to harass people over and over again. All of the victims are females, and I can feel my anger growing at their words. Just leave them alone, you scum. Nobody wants anything to do with you. I hear a familiar voice scream out to the men causing problems. I know it's Mom, but I'm not frustrated or mad in the slightest. I'm proud of her for saying something, and I would always be proud of her. All the players around look at us, and begin to part as the group approaches us. I look at Mom and see a face that regrets her decision, but I put my hand on top of her head. She looks at me with slight fear for what might happen. I just give her a smile and be as reassuring as I can. I won't let any harm come to her. After the crowd is done parting, there is a group of 5 level 30s to my left as I continue to watch Marcus. Who is the bitch that said such disrespectful things? I'll make sure she learns respect. My anger boils at those words intended for my mother. Many of the players around us look towards my mom, I turn my eyes to the men and see the disgusting looks on their faces seeing my mother. Well, it's your lucky day, sweetheart. I can find it in my charitable soul to forgive you. If you provide service to my men and me, of course. I almost reach for my sword, but the feeling of my mom holding my wrist in fear stops me. I'm still shirtless at this point in time, so I might not look like a threat. Is this your boyfriend or something? A handsome face like his is sure to attract a woman such as you. Now I'm pissed. I turn my head fully in his direction. Many see my gaze, and slightly step back. The only ones not to move are the group itself. Don't talk about my mother that way. He gives me a stupid look, and then starts to laugh. He walks closer full of cockiness and eagerness. He gets in my face and his bad breath almost makes me flinch. So this is your mama, mind if we borrow her for a little while? We'll have her back in a couple hours. You can T.A.W. I draw my sword faster than anyone can react. I slice from the left side of his torso to the right side. Cutting through both of us arm in the process, he's already dead before he hits the ground. A bunch of notifications go off, but I'm too focused on slaughtering these guys. I know I shouldn't enjoy taking another life, but killing him puts a smile on my face. I proceed to slice and dice all his friends into separate pieces too. All of them are a pile of body parts around me. I look down at my torso and notice how much blood I'm covered with. I hear some shouting, but it's muffled as I try and come out of my anger. I follow the muffled voice and see my mom with a face full of shock. The muffled sound goes away and I can hear her shaky voice. Oh sweetie, I just sheath my sword and look at my mom as she rambles. Soon Marcus leaps into her arms and looks at me strangely. Come in, we need to get that blood cleaned off you. I listen to her and follow her out. None of the guys dropped any items, so no reason to stay any longer. I look around and see the faces of many people, most have fear and respect mixed together. Others have curiosity. People are respectful enough not to inspect me, and for that I'm grateful. Hopefully mom doesn't worry too much about me. Chapter 113, A Confrontation 2. We make it to the edge of the park and start heading back. Marcus looks at me with stars in his eyes, not a reaction I would expect. He must just be happy that I'm back. It's nice to see my little brother. Don't you dare do that ever again. I expect you to run if a situation like that ever happens again. Despite what my mom did, she is still trying to make sure I do as she says, not as she does. I just nod my head in a yes motion. She knows that I won't listen to her, but that won't stop her from trying. I'm sorry I put you in that spot, sweetie. I just couldn't listen to those vile creatures anymore. Feeding on the weak and vulnerable should be stopped, and the way they treated women, I'm proud of you for doing that, Sarah. I'll always be proud of you. Hearing my mom say that warms my heart, and I can't help thinking I should have acted sooner. I'm about to ask mom some questions myself, but I don't get a chance to since Marcus wants in on the conversation. How did you cut them up like that, big bro? I've never seen anything like it. You were like a chef preparing some sort of dinner. I'm glad he isn't mentally scared from that. It makes me worried about his mentality if he isn't squeamish after something like that. He must understand that they aren't truly dead. If he thought I killed them for real, then he would probably think I'm a monster. Can you teach me how to do that? He is a magic class, so he won't be able to do something like this. He is going to be disappointed with my answer, and that's something he is going to have to live with. I look at him with a slightly sad expression and walk up to the side. Mom is carrying him. You aren't old enough to learn how to do that, Marcus. When you can use strong types of magic, then we can talk about it, okay? In truth, he won't be able to use a sword. I think giving him some false motivation would be effective in his development for magic. By the time he gets to the good spells, he'll learn that it isn't possible. Well, it might be. I still don't know what's completely changed, only the system knows these secrets. Marcus looks more motivated now, and while he is excited, I can see my mom's disapproving look. Being young like Marcus comes with a lot of things, and one of them is gullibility. It works out for me, but he might end up resenting me. Marcus has a lot of potential to do something great, and that's all a family member can hope for. It will be a good day when he is able to fend for himself, and I'm sure Mom wouldn't like the fact he will be ready to be on his own. How long do you think it will take before Haley and Dad heal? Since dungeons will be arriving soon, I figured it would be a good chance for all of us to get some levels. I'd be able to level you guys up faster, and I can't do that if they are still in bed. I don't think it will take them that much longer to finish healing. I shouldn't compare our healing times since I have lots of regeneration buffs to help. Having them ready for fighting will be nice. Power leveling my family is something I never thought I'd be allowed to do. Mom looks at me worried. I can see she has doubt about dungeons. I would too if I wasn't as strong as I am now. In all honesty, Sarah, I don't want them going anywhere near a dungeon. That goes for you too. Watching them almost die makes me so scared. I couldn't bear to lose any one of you, and I refuse that any of you go into a dungeon. Looks like Mom is going to be a problem. While I respect her decision, there is no way I'm going to abide by it. I'm going to dungeon dive, and I'm going to do it with my family. While she may not like it, it's the only way for them to get stronger faster. She will get over her fear eventually, and all I can do is help her get there. She looks at me waiting to see if I agree with her or not. I sigh knowing I'll be making Mom angry, but sometimes there is no other choice. I'm going to be dungeon diving and I expect my family to be there. I get you are scared, but you guys need to get stronger. This is a fast track for that, and you can yell and scream about it all you want. I'm taking you guys with me, so get used to the idea. My mom stops walking and gives me a stupid look. She is about to yell, but I interrupt her. You can be as sour about it as you want, Mom, but I know more about this world than you could ever know. I'm more than strong enough to protect you guys in the dungeons, so please be ready when the time comes. I continue walking as she stands there flabbergasted. I hate putting my foot down like this, but if it were Dad or Haley I'd do the same exact thing. As Sarah makes it back to the room with his mom and brother, the men he killed earlier are talking with someone. They enter a run-down factory, this place it a safe haven for them. They make their way towards the single person in this place. Once they reach the person they get on their hands and knees. Why have you come to me? I find it hard to believe that such high-leveled players could be killed so swiftly. The faces of the men contort in shame. They are about to speak, but he stops them with a raise of his hand. I'd be willing to settle the score, but it has to be at a price. I want one piece of rare gear from each of you. If you think that's unfair, then you can leave the way you came. The men look at each other as if contemplating their answer. They all nod their heads yes and get up. Where do you think you're going? I want my payment up front. I don't want you guys skipping town with my reward once I finish the job. They all look reluctant to pay, but they do. On the name of V, I swear I'll fulfill this contract. The man swears an oath, one bound on honor and integrity. The man begins to prepare for his fight, and that is something he takes very seriously. If these guys got killed by someone so swiftly, then I got my work cut out for me. I heard some rumor about how it happened, but they are hard to believe. I've never heard of anyone getting dismembered so swiftly. They are leaving me to my own devices now. I've never failed a contract. This guy might be the hardest fight I've had yet. I'm level 36 and I know I'm one of the strongest players alive right now. Send out the scouts and spies, find the target and watch him. I want to know his schedule and patterns. I say this to the subordinates I have waiting in the dark. I hear whooshes as they speed away. Now I must wait, this will end up being the first challenge I have. I can feel it in my heart and bones. While they are busy with the search, I should also do some reconnaissance myself. While my group is capable, I like to get out into the field myself. I equip my best gear and weapons. I want to see how the rest of the players are doing as well. This might be a chance to recruit more people to my guild, and while I like strong members, loyalty is more important to me than power. I make my way out of the factory and begin to walk the streets of our once great city. I think the first place I should check out is the site of the incident. It was a park about a mile away. Rumors say that the man killed that little group because they tried to harm his mother. Didn't even let them finish talking before he killed them all. I don't hear that very often. This guy is efficient and doesn't mess around, all the more reason to be on guard. Out of all the people they could have pissed off, it had to be someone strong. Just goes to show how stupid they are with that behavior. I don't care who or what my employers are, only that they paid the fee. Sucks I have to hurt someone with potential, but that's a part of the job. I have a little bit of a walk, so I should just enjoy the free time I have. I don't get many chances to just walk around anymore after all. Chapter 114, Dropping Bombs. Mom is carrying Marcus as she climbs the staircase to the high floor they are staying on. Even now she is still trying to make his life a little easier. While this skyscraper is a good place to be, these stairs are going to prove a problem. When we get back up to the room, I want to tell them the plan. Everyone is going. I'll make sure you guys gain levels faster than others will, that way you guys can fend for yourselves. I direct my order to Mom, but she is still not being flexible. I'll be taking all of them with me, and if I have to drag her along, then so be it. I'm not going to wait for an answer from her, so I'll just focus on other things right now. Mainly the people that I killed in the park. They will go to someone stronger for help. They can't help themselves. When people like them form a grudge, it's really hard for them to let it go. I don't blame them either. I would have been pretty pissed if I was taken out like that. I'll have to keep my guard up for a while. I don't know the power structure in this city. I don't know who's in charge or where they are staying. This city is also huge. Millions of players are staying here, and if I want to find someone specific, it's like a needle in a haystack. Being a solo player has its downsides, but they are too few for me to be complaining. I'm going to wait until something actually happens. Waiting for trouble to come to me isn't what I normally do. In this situation, it's the best move possible, and reacting to an attack will prove dangerous without knowing who is after me. So if I don't want to endanger my family, then staying away from them for a while is a good idea. I'm likely the only target. We make it to the top floor and walk to our room. I look inside as I enter and see that both Haley and Dad are sitting up on their own. They are recovering good. Mom sets Marcus down and rushes to the side of her husband. You're supposed to be resting. I'm not letting you do anything till you can move on your own. My mom looks at me as she says that last part. Declare all you want, Mom. They will be joining me in the dungeons along with you. Just lay back down and I'll change your bandages. They do as she says and relax. I'll let her baby them for now. I still have things I need to think about, mainly how long I'm going to be stuck on this continent away from my missions. My family is my top priority, but staying here for an extended period of time will be a stigma in the long run. Powering up my family to the point they are strong enough to defend themselves is the first thing on the list. In all honesty, I don't have to stick around after that, and while they might resent me for leaving during such a hard time, I also need to continue growing. I feel like scum with the thought of just leaving them after I make them stronger, and in truth I would be. The only one who might understand is Haley, because when she is strong she will leave to go on her own as well. Helping the players fix the teleportation grid is noble, but that isn't something I'm going to do. In the end, all it will do is save everyone else time and waste mine. There could be unique rewards, but nothing that I could actually need. So my mind is made up with everything available. I'm heading back to my original continent after I help my family. I sit down as they continue to talk to each other, and while they are all smiles, I'm going to have to bring the mood down. I'm leaving after I help you guys level up in the dungeons. Those words instantly silent everyone. My mom goes red in the face with anger, and as she is about to start screaming, my dad stops her. He give me a look to continue. When the dungeons are opened around here and you guys finish healing, I'll power level you guys. When I finish getting you stronger, I'm heading out. I look at my mom to see her face, and all I can see is hurt and betrayal. I don't like this, but I also need to do what's in my best interests too. If that means I have to hurt my family's feelings, then fine. My mom is about to start yelling at me, but she is interrupted before she can start. My sister says something that surprises me, but isn't out of her character. I want you to take me with you. My mom looks at my sister with fury. I look at my sister and I see the determination in her eyes. She wants to get back to what she was doing before this happened. I bet she was close to getting the legendary class, and if she wants that, who am I to say no? I'll give her a ride on my way back. I look at my dad and see that he is also hurt by this news. If there was someone he didn't want going, it would be his little girl. Marcus looks confused and scared. His family is in a very tense situation right now. I would be the same way if I was his age. I look to Mom and I've never seen her so mad at me before. Nobody is going to interrupt her this time and I should just let her get any anger she has out of her system. What the fuck do you mean you're leaving? If you think I'm going to let you leave, then you need to get your fucking head checked. I will not let you leave and I will not let you take my family into the dungeons. I cringe as she screams her response at me, and I'm a little surprised she actually cussed. Mom is usually pretty good at not cussing, and that just goes to show how mad she is at me. I watch her take deep breaths, and try to calm down. She must think she won with that explosion. I'm going to have to disappoint her. I stand up and make my way to the exit of the room, giving Mom some time to work through this is a good idea. I turn my head around towards my sister. When we are done with power leveling, I'll take you with me. I'll be back after the dungeons arrive to collect you guys. Be ready, all right? My sister gives a determined nod, but my mom's face contorts in rage and anger. I make a quick exit as a rock flies by my head. This is going to be a tough pill for my mom to swallow, and giving them space to work it out is the smartest move. I hear my dad's muffled voice followed my mother's angry screams. I wouldn't want to be stuck in their positions right now. Now that I have free time, I can start asking around for information I don't have. The best place to ask questions would probably be the place with the most players. Around here that would be the park I killed those guys at, so I'm returning to the scene of the proverbial crime. I hope people are willing to answer some questions after what they say earlier. I make my way down the long stairway once again. After some time I make it to the lobby of the building and head outside. Time to head to the park. It takes the same amount of time to get there as it did last time, and when I arrive there are plenty of people around. I make my way into the park and people begin to recognize me. They do what I expect some to do, and that's steer clear of me. On the other hand, it looks like many are avoiding me, too many. I make it deeper into the crowd and I hear a voice I'm unfamiliar with. Looks like you came to me instead of me having to find you. I got to say I'm surprised those guys got killed by someone who doesn't even have a shirt, but that sword you have looks really gnarly. I turn to the voice and see a man with great gear, and he also has some people to his left and right. I get the feeling that I have some sort of bounty on my head. Don't take this personal, kid. I'm just doing what I'm getting paid to do. I was going to try to talk my way out of this, but looks like that won't be happening. This event has really messed people up, and if I ever see those guys from earlier again, I'll make sure it's slow and painful instead of quick. Chapter 115, A Disappointment. I look at this man with scrutiny. I have no idea who he really is and why he thinks that this is a good idea. He is either very strong or underestimating me. I'm going to be on the safe side and say he is strong. I don't want to use inspect on him because then he'd use it on me. He'll see that I'm tier 1 level 51 and become serious. I'd prefer that he keep underestimating me. I'm guessing the guys I killed earlier hired you. I didn't think there were so many people like them. You must really care about them if you came all the way out here to kill me. I know he was hired and this is strictly business, but I want to try getting into his head. I watch the confident smile on his face sink behind the true meaning of my words. I basically told him that he is scum like the people that hired him. In all honesty, that's true. In his own way he is just as bad as they are. He looks at me hard and I can see the anger in his eyes. We all do what we must to make a living. If that means I have to work for such individuals, so be it. He is just making excuses to justify his character and life choices. A morally compromised person trying to justify their reasons is a common thing. I don't know how such a lowlife got this strong, but every dog has its day. I see no reason to continue this conversation. I don't intend to let this person leave alive either. I have to lay down the law of not messing with me. If everyone sees that, then I shouldn't have any more trouble. This guy is probably the strongest in the area. I slowly draw my sword as I stare him dead in the eye. Many of the players that are surrounding us in the park back away to give us room. He takes out the long sword on his back and gets into a stance, but then he relaxes. He starts to whisper something to his subordinates, and then he gets behind them and lets them take the lead as he sits and watches. He is playing it smart now. His group is getting ready to attack. I can tell they are strong, but not enough to do anything to me. The weakest of the group immediately charges forward for a probe attack. To everyone else he is moving fast, but to me he is moving slow. His entire approach is in slow motion to me, and now I see the gap in our powers. If I knew they were this weak, I wouldn't have even drawn my sword. They are high 20s and low 30s, I overestimated their power. He is close to me now, and the tip of his blade is almost at the center of my chest. I can see a small smirk on their leader's face. He thinks it's already over. I raise my hand and catch the blade between my index finger and thumb. Time speeds up again and wind blows from the force of his attack. Everyone realizes what just happened, including their leader. I get a notification of someone inspecting me, and I look to the leader and see his face. What the fuck were they thinking trying to antagonize a tier 1 level 51 player? Many close hear his mumbles, and I soon hear many notifications of people inspecting me. I watch the faces of the surrounding players have different reactions. I'm pretty pissed that this has happened. I watch the leader get up and prepare to join the fight, but I won't go easy. I swing my blade and dismember the man in front of me. He falls to the ground dead. A pile of body parts and organs isn't a sight to behold, but that's just a byproduct of my power. I could have killed them all without even using my sword. That actually sounds like a good idea. I sheath my sword and loosen up a little. I don't need a weapon to kill all of you. My stats outnumber yours by the thousands. I think using my hands will be a good way to demonstrate not to mess with me. Many of the players close that inspected me cringe at my words. I look at the face of the leader and see him in slight distress. He must be trying to think of a way out of this. I know the way to make sure he doesn't go anywhere. Knowing who he is will be invaluable. I use inspect on him to see his name as well. VLVL.36 7000/7000 HP. So his name is V. I watch him start to panic now that he knows I know his identity. Perhaps we can come to some sort of arrangement. I'd hate to see us waste each other's levels fighting. How about we just forget everything that happened here and go about our separate ways? Sounds like a true politician. Everything that has happened so far is just proof that people of low morals don't let things go. I just sigh and relax my body slightly. I watch him have a look of hope on his face. He'll be sorely disappointed. I begin to relax and stand up straight, however I burst forth in speed and start to attack without remorse. None of them are fast enough to do anything about it. The two players in front of him I target first. I grab their heads and slam them against the ground. Their skulls are crushed under the force in my hands are now covered in blood and pieces of their brain. I don't let V say anything as I target him next. I use my right hand to grab his neck and lift him off the ground. He is choking to get words out. I use my left hand and drive it through his chest and out the other side. He looks dead already, so I drop him and his body hits the ground lifelessly. I look at the rest of his subordinates and see their fear. It would be better if you didn't run. I'm not in the mood to chase you guys down. That instantly makes them try to flee, but before they can get out of my range I draw my sword and kill them all. 3 sprayed people get diced up, and now all these guys are dead. I look around and see the huge crowd of people full of fear. I sheath my sword again and make my way out of the park. I don't think anyone is going to help me with questions now. I have notifications for EXP and I can see my bar has raised from these guys and the ones I killed for mom. Plus 7% EXP. I now get much more EXP thanks to my half EXP debuff being removed. I haven't looked at my EXP player stat in a long time, well a long time for me. I open my player stats to see where I'm at. Slayer, Zirn, LVL.51. EXP, 45/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, hidden, plus 3 more. Stats. Strength, 2095 Endurance, 2045 Dexterity, 2125 Speed, 2240 Focus, 13545. Health, 16,560/16,560 Mana, 135450/135450. Stat points, 270 Armor rating, 500. Inventory. Passive perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active skills. Heaven's Light LVL.7325/700 protected by Heaven LVL.7225/700/LVL.174500/8000 parry LVL.180/100 double strike and/A King Slayer and/A Raging Machine and/A Winged Glory Angelic Flight. Everything is looking good in terms of development. I just have to get back to my original continent soon and start progressing. It does suck that I have to go to the Holy City for my Divine Mana Aura, but that is going to be a tough quest. It isn't going to take me long to get there, but I'm getting impatient. I'll power up my family soon and be on my way. It'll be nice to take Haley with me. She is going to be the first person from the players to know my secret. I know she'll do a good job and keep it. I can trust her more than anyone else. With that current threat taken care of, I should find me a place to stay until the dungeons open up. I can really use a place that is quiet and isolated. The roof of a skyscraper sounds like a good idea. Players are swarming the skyscrapers though, so that's out of the question. I'm going to find a good spot in the forest to be alone. There are some nice hills to the east of here and I could hang out there till the dungeons. I speed up and start to run at high speeds towards the hills. It takes about 4 minutes to get there. I get to the top of the tallest hill around and set up a little camp. I start a campfire and take a seat. I look out to the city in the distance and enjoy the old-looking city. When night falls, the stars will look beautiful right behind it. This is going to be a fun adventure. Dungeon diving with my family is something I never thought I'd get to do, and now I will. I know that many people will undoubtedly start to look for me after that show in the park. So keeping a low profile from here on out is the best move. So now it's just time to wait. Chapter 116, The Dungeon's Eye. It's night now and the time till the dungeons get here is getting close. The system has been quiet and hasn't updated us about anything. The mysteries of the system is abundant, and the way it's behaving is evident to that. I don't know what's in these dungeons, or what the level requirements would be. Does it adapt to the team's level or is it a hard set? Many things will be learned today and I intend to get as much information as possible. The dungeon mechanics might not have changed at all, but it would be foolish to assume otherwise. I really should find a way to clean my blood-crusted gear. Mom would know more than I do about things like this. I take my chest piece out of my inventory and see that it's totally clean now. That's strange, why is it clean? I look at it more closely and I can clearly tell this has been perfectly taken care of. Maybe a player's inventory cleans things passively now, that's the only explanation I can come up with. I equip it on again and it feels nice and comfortable. The odor it had is now gone. Speaking of odor, I do stink. It's nice to know I'm not the only one that smells bad. All the players I have met or been in close proximity to all have body odor. I should go and meet up with my family for the last couple hours. We can move together when we are ready. Mom and Dad are probably arguing right now about what I said earlier. They don't fight often, and when they do it's usually about something that's important. Haley and I leaving after I power level them in the dungeons is more than enough for an argument. As Sarah slowly makes his way back into town, the parents of Sarah and Haley are having a bad spat. I can't believe he agrees with him. I just got my baby back and now he wants to leave, also taking along my only daughter. I look at my husband in anger and disbelief. I'm losing my family right before my eyes and I can't do anything about it. Both my husband and daughter look at me with pity. My anger is boiling more and more. I see this. You aren't going anywhere, Haley, neither is Sarah. We are staying together whether you guys like it or not. I struggle to talk to them without screaming. I feel like someone ripped out my heart, threw it on a frying pan and cooked it, then made me eat it as my family walks away in my suffering. This is the last we are talking about this. My decision is final and everyone is going to listen to me. I try to put my foot down and stop any more thoughts about leaving. The face of my daughter isn't what I was expecting. She stands up from her sitting position and walks up to me. I'm leaving with Sarah whether you approve of it or not. This isn't something you have a decision in. Sarah and me aren't little kids that can be told what to do anymore. I've come to realize that I don't have to listen to anything you have to say anymore. This is my life and my choices. So it's your turn to respect my choices. I see the fire in her eyes and I can feel the pit in my stomach get bigger. I'm about to retaliate, but before I can, she starts again. Nothing you can say or threaten will ever make me change my mind. So instead of being mad and pissed about it, you can be excited that we all get to fight together before Sarah and I leave. I feel complete and utter desperation. I look to my husband in support, but I watch him stand up as well and walk over me. Before saying anything, he wraps me in a hug. They have to leave us eventually. I don't want to see them go just as much as you, but they aren't kids we have to take care of. They are both ready to leave the nest, and we should be supporting them, not threatening them if they try to leave. As I hear those words, my tears fall as hard as my hopes that this could be stopped. I wrap my arms around my husband and just bawl my eyes out into his chest. Everything that I live for is changing, and without them I only have one left. It's not like we'll never see them again. Once we get back to our continent and communication is restored, we can plan a meet-up to talk about what everyone has been up to. I love you, Violet, and I love my kids, but we need to move on and evolve as people. This is a new chapter for us. His words don't calm me down, but they don't make it any worse. I feel someone come up on me from behind and it's my slightly taller daughter. I love you, Mom. I know this is hard, but Sarah and I are ready. Everything Dad said is true, and that will never change. I close my eyes as I listen to the stinging words. I don't want this to happen, but I have no choice. It is time to let them go and move on. Letting go of my babies is going to be the hardest thing I have ever done. It's more painful than when I gave birth to them. It's a blessing that I've got to watch them grow into these amazing people. I'm sure they will make me proud and soar higher than I could have ever dreamed. As we are hugging, I feel a smaller person join in on the hug. I look down and see my youngest hugging all of us from our legs. I lean down and pick him up and I kiss him all over his face. I can already see Marcus being ready to leave me sooner than I can prepare. We hear someone shuffling at the door to our room. We all turn our heads and I see my first son, the light of my life. A parent should never play favorites, but it's something that can't be avoided. Sarah is everything I could ever hope for in a son. He was so easy to raise and love. He made everything about being a parent that much better. You guys got room for one more? He looks at me asking for permission to join us. I open my free arm that isn't holding Marcus and wave for him to come here. He walks over to me and I wrap my arm around him. My head only reaches the top of his chest just like his father. I'm proud to call you my mom. I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for you. I start to cry again as he utters those words. I'm the luckiest mom in the whole world. As all this is happening with the T.A.W family, the local main leader is discussing the information of a Tier 1 level 51 player. The one leading this conversation is Sir Ericsson. His spies in the park have brought him great news. To think a Tier 1 level 51 player actually exists. That can only mean one thing: he is the divine class holder. Out of all the players, the sun was the first to tear up. We heard it in the announcements when it happened. From my spies the true name of the sun is Slayer Zirn, and from the reports of his powers and feats the name fits him. Thinking about all his accomplishments makes me wonder who he is as a person. The words and actions of such a man can teach a lot. I look at my few guild members I could find when this transfer happened. We now know an incredible secret gentleman. Mr. Zirn's identity won't stay hidden for long. Others might have put the truth together first, so the plan as of this moment is to find Zirn and recruit him to our guild. We know he is in this city, and from other reports so is his mother. We can't let such an opportunity escape. If I can get Zirn in my guild, nothing will stop us. My men nod to each other now that they have their orders. Don't do anything to threaten him or reveal we know something. Just find out where he is and come back to me. I want to do all the talking myself. I want him to understand that we only have good intentions. With those final words, my current best guild members head out to start searching. None of us can compete with his power, so being calm and careful about this is the only way to go. His stats must be so much higher than the rest of us. My stats are just starting to pass the 100 mark. There is a gap that no amount of people can overcome. I need him on my side. The 106,000 individual monsters he killed is more proof. Those damn creatures were relentless, but he was more so. Keeping this under wraps for as long as possible is the only option I can see, and when the majority of players learns the truth, someone will turn him into the church for a reward. I have to get him in my guild before then. I hate waiting, but that's the only option I have now. Chapter 117, The Dungeons 2. I sit down in an old office chair and look at the faces of my family. Both Haley and Dad have made a full recovery, and the happiness on their faces goes to show the lack of pain. I look at my sister and see her smile. She notices my gaze and gets up. She walks over as Mom and Dad talk. She sits on the table next to me. So are we heading out right after we finish in the dungeon? If we are, I have to question whether or not you know where we are going. She makes a valid point. I don't know where to go to get back to our original continent. I have a hunch on how to find out. If we are the first players to clear the dungeon, we will get a reward. What I'm hoping for is a custom request just like the monster swarms. If I can get an answer from the system instead of finding it through trial and error, it will make our journey much faster. I release a groan at the reality of the situation. I'm basically putting all my faith in the random chance that there is the reward. In truth, Haley, I don't know which way to go to get back to our original continent. I'm hoping that when we beat the dungeon we'll get custom rewards, that way I can use mine to ask the system which way to go to get back to our original continent. I know how badly you want to get your legendary class, but don't be mad if it takes us a while to find out which way we are supposed to go. My sister looks at me as if I've lost some sense or reason. If she has a better idea, I'd like to hear it. I give her a look that conveys my thoughts and she opens her mouth to speak, but closes it just as fast. She can't think of anything better either. The dungeons should be opening soon and I want us to be the first clears. I doubt many will be willing to jump straight into it like us. If anything, many will be too scared. Only the hardcore players will jump in and try it out, even then they probably won't succeed. How do you think we'll do in the dungeon? I don't really like that we have to rely on you for everything. I don't have that much experience with dungeons. The two that I have been in, I was carried by a group of guys. Being pretty has its benefits. I laugh at my sister's use of her beauty. I think it's brilliant. If I could have used my looks in my old future, I would have. A group of men don't want to help an attractive man. She also begins to laugh. I'm glad I'll be able to have company for a little bit. It does get lonely out there by myself all the time. Soloing has its disadvantages. However, it's the way I am. This will be a good experience for all of them. They can see how a dungeon functions and learn how to combat multiple enemies while helping each other. I help them through the hard bits and handle the boss. I'll make sure each of them won't get more than they can't handle. This is to be a learning experience, not a death march. I have plenty of strategies and tactics that I'll teach you guys during the dungeon. The things you will all learn will be used pretty much in all combat-heavy dungeons. My sister looks at me strangely. I can guess she must not know that combat-heavy dungeons are only one type of dungeon. There is more than one type of dungeon. There are lore dungeons, trap dungeons, solo dungeons. Many more that I could tell you about, but the most common and well-known are the combat-heavy dungeons. Just so you know, the dungeon to get your legendary duelist class is a lore dungeon. She looks at me with suspicion. I don't think I've done anything to warrant such a reaction. She moved closer so nobody in the room can hear. How do you know all this, Sarah? I find it hard to believe that you found all this out on your own from the little time the game has been out. If you have something important you are hiding, you know you can tell me. Lord knows after all the things you've done for me, the least I can do is be an ear for you. I appreciate her concern, but she isn't ready for the truth. I don't think anyone will. I will say I'm impressed by her deductions though, it runs in the blood from our intelligent parents. Are you going to tell me the secret or not? She also got impatience from our parents. I have it as well, I can't lie. I look at her and just roll my eyes slightly. Okay. You'll tell me when you're ready. Just remember your big sister will always be here for you. I chuckle at her cliched words. I know they are true. I will tell her about my class when it's time to leave. She'll have to be okay with that. As I think about things, a system announcement goes off. Worldwide announcement, the dungeons will be arriving in 10 minutes. I've marked the location of the local dungeon in the city on your maps. The first clears of the local town dungeons will get a custom reward from the system of epic quality or lower. Good lucky everyone. Looks like there is going to be a crowd. There is a possibility that we might not clear it first, so I'm going to make sure we are the first ones in the dungeon. I stand up from my seat and everyone looks at me. Let's get a move on. I want us to be the first ones to clear the dungeon here in the city. I watch my mom and dad quickly get ready. I look at Marcus a little worried about him. He will have a hard time adjusting, so I'll be extra careful involving him. I'll teach him everything he needs to know about being a mage. While I've never been a mage, I can impart the knowledge I do know on him. I'll be waiting in the lobby for you guys. Dad, I think you should explain what's about to happen to Marcus. Make it quick too. I make my way towards the door with Haley right behind me. We make it to the stairwell and start to descend. I can feel my sister wanting to ask me questions, and I know that she can't help it. Why are you keeping secrets from us? We are your family. She is just not going to let this go, is she? I'm about to speak, but she starts talking again. If it's something embarrassing, I promise I won't laugh. I swear on my sword that I won't judge you for it. While I believe her, she just isn't ready, and the more she bugs me about it, the more she proves me right. Come on, I won't tell anyone. Nobody will ever know what you tell me. What am I? A best girlfriend or something? I don't know how long she can keep this up. I admire the relentlessness of women. However, not when it's used against me. They are masters at getting what you never expect to give, and that's scary. I take a breath and relax from my tense mood. She really does know how to apply the pressure. You aren't ready for the truth, Haley. It would shatter you if you knew everything I did. So do us both a favor and quit asking me. I'll tell you when I think you are ready. She is only a step behind me and I can feel the shift in her mood. That probably wasn't the answer she wanted, and that's okay. I know she will prove to be ready for the whole truth one day, but until then she just needs to get stronger both physically and mentally. She is going to be the role model and hero to many people, and that's because she is who she is. Not because she'll be getting a legendary class. It will be a great day when we fight alongside each other. I know that you want to know, Haley, but you have more important things to worry about than what I know or what I'm hiding. Just focus on the important things. That is the final thing said about this topic. We reach the lobby and wait in silence for our parents. After a couple minutes they make it to the lobby. They walk up to us and look both excited and apprehensive. Don't worry, I'll make sure nothing bad happens to any of you. This is going to be a great learning experience for all of you. I say those final words and look at my map. The marker isn't that far away. We won't be the first ones to enter, but we will be close. This is going to be fun, and having my family fight with me is an amazing sensation. Chapter 118, The Dungeons 3. I walk beside my sister as the rest of our family is right behind us. We are making our way to the marker on the map. The closer we get to the marker, the thicker the crowd is getting. I can see where the dungeon will be spawning, and I also see many hardcore players getting ready for when it opens. We slowly make our way through the crowd and to the front. We are behind what looks to be a party. Different dungeons have different requirements. This one might have a limit of 10 per party. Massive dungeons that are both hard to beat and powerful have very high limits. Even guilds lose more than they gain while dealing with the stronger types. No one knows what this one will be, but with the current level of the player base it shouldn't be too hard. I wouldn't be surprised if these hardcore parties finished it faster than I could solo. A group of hardcore players' coordination is just that good. Worldwide announcement: dungeons are now open to the players on the player continent. Best of luck to you all. My thoughts are interrupted by an announcement from the system. Out of nowhere a bright light exits the subway entrance where the dungeon is supposed to be. Once the light fades, everyone sees that there is now a barrier from letting anyone in. I wonder what happened to the players in the subway. They either died and respawned or were teleported out. Everyone begins to squint their eyes and wear faces of confusion, fear, and curiosity. I hear my sister mumble something. She must have inspected it as well. Whatever the information is, it might not be good. I should also inspect the dungeon myself. I look over the men in front of me and use my inspect skill. I now understand people reactions, and I also agree with them. Ancient subway, dungeon. Level REQ, none. Party limit, 15. Description: an old underground transportation station for a large number of people. Since its abandonment, many dark-dwelling monsters have made it home. Clear conditions: kill the boss. Possible rewards. Now, why would a subway that was not old or in a run-down state before the event be called Ancient Subway? Was there some sort of time displacement when we were sucked through the portal? This is another mystery. I can't see the logic in this other than some sort of time manipulation. Perhaps that's why the people who turned to dust did just that. They aged so fast nothing was left but dust. This is the best theory I can come up with. It also makes a connection to why people are getting younger. Both are related to time, but have unknown causes and answers. The party limit is slightly higher than I would have expected. This isn't going to cater to the low levels. My family just barely scratches above level 14, so this will be a little hard on them. The hardcore party in front of us is short 5 members. It's stronger than what they were expecting as well. They were here first and that means it's their right to go. I watch the leader of the group enter with his party. I start to walk up with my family right behind me. I'll protect you guys, but you will also have to get kills yourselves. I'll invite you all to a party right now. Be careful in there and don't be scared. I open my player interface and invite them. I have to use people in proximity since the friends list still doesn't work. They all accept pretty fast. It might get claustrophobic or extremely dark in there, but don't be scared. Marcus, when it gets too dark in some areas, use some fire magic to light it up for us. He nods his head yes slowly. I walk up to the entrance and put my hand on it. I get a prompt to enter and I press enter. I'm surrounded by light and transported in. Once on the other side of the barrier, I look around on the stairs descending into the subway and see my family. We all made it in okay. I look outside the barrier and I see players still looking in. I wave my hand at them, but none acknowledge it. Interesting, I look towards my family and they are waiting for me to lead the way. Well, sweetie, I hope this plan of yours works. I give a reassuring nod and walk down the stairs before my family. I draw my blade just in case. Both mom and dad draw their weapons as well. They are keeping Marcus between him for safety. Haley follows suit and does the same as the rest of us. I make it to the bottom of the stairs and look around. There are cracks in the ceiling where light is coming through in places. The cracks are rather huge. I walk up to one and look at it. I can easily jump out of it if I wanted to. So I try just that. I launch myself at the opening and I hit a barrier hard. Be careful, sweetie. My mother is adamant on not being reckless. This must be a part of the environment down here. Cracks this big would have been seen by the players, and there was none around the entrance we just came through. It's like we are in a separate dimension, but not. If we truly were, then I wouldn't have seen the players on the other side. They couldn't see me though. All this doesn't make any sense. It's like that old vintage show called The Twilight Zone. We have light for now. I can see more cracks down both tunnels, so no need for magic yet. Be ready though, Marcus. I don't know what could happen. The objective of this dungeon is to kill the boss for the clear, but this isn't going to be as simple as that. These rails and tunnels go on for miles, and the boss can be anywhere in this entire network. The first thing I should do is look for signs of a boss, like scratches on the walls or a path it regularly takes. We'll start on the left path, and see if we can run into anything that might tell us where the boss is or where it's going. Look for anything that might not fit the environment, it could be a clue. They nod their heads and we start to make our way down the left tunnel. As we walk, the cracks are lighting the path very nicely. We are walking in the middle of the tracks, and from what I can see everything looks normal. At least how it should look. We eventually reach another platform about a quarter mile down the current track we are using. I get up on the loading platform and look around. My attention is drawn to a terminal that looks very out of place. Is that what you mean by out of place? My sister catches on fast. I nod my head yes and slowly approach the machine. I don't remember these being in the subways growing up, so that means it was put here. What are you going to do with it? My sister is right behind me as my fingers reach for the keyboard. If I can find out what this thing is, it might help us in some way. By finding the boss or by answering questions I need answered. I start it up and see a bunch of alien-looking code, but after a second it transforms into a readable language. This is a lore terminal. I've never seen anything like it. It might be able to provide us with a clue to anything we don't know. I press enter and it just starts unleashing line after line of information about this subway system. Access points, other platforms, and administration. It also has a map of the entire place. It makes me wonder why this was put here. From what I can tell, it's only for this specific location, and while not very helpful, I have some guesses on where the boss could be now. I continue to watch and read the lines of information looking for anything that might help us. It's actually telling me about its history while it was still on Earth, and after those lines of code it stops. Seems like it has nothing else to give. Talk about disappointing. At least I have places of interest where the boss might be hiding. I stop messing with the terminal and Haley takes my spot and starts to read herself. I walk over to my parents as she is busy looking at the lore herself. The best place I can think of looking is administration. I know which path to follow to get to there, so just follow me. I look back to my sister and she is still reading. I guess liking lore is another thing we share. Let's go, Haley. I want to get the custom reward for us before anyone else gets their hands on it. She hears me and stops her reading and heads over to us. We start back on the rail system and begin making our way to administration, but after just a couple minutes of walking I can hear growling in front of us. That's a good indication we are heading in the right direction. I look to the rest of my family and they can tell too. This is now going to become a fight instead of a long walk, and this tight space doesn't make it easy. Chapter 119, The Dungeons 4. I make sure that I'm a good distance ahead so if there is an ambush I'd be the one that gets attacked and not my family. The growling has stopped and I can tell I'm close to a group of them. This is going to be a piece of cake with my capabilities. This isn't my fight though, I'll kill the harder ones. The rest of my family will have to do some work too. I stop on the edge of the darkness, and I can hear their breathing. They are waiting for my move. They must know the threat I pose or they would have attacked by now. Marcus, shoot a fireball into the darkness. I want to see how many there are. He follows my orders and shoots a fireball down the dark tunnel. As the fire lights up the tunnel, the monsters are everywhere. It's like they are all packed up right here. This is too much for my family to handle. The ones closest to me launch at me for an attack now that they have been discovered. I easily dispatch of them, and as I continue to do so I have many system notifications. It's the typical ones about damage dealt and dismemberment. Sarah, get over here so we can help. My mother is the first to say something. I ignore her and continue, not letting the monsters get past me. Soon the pile of bodies and body parts is too much and I have to move back for room. My sister stands at my side and starts to help. She can't one-shot them like I can, but she is holding her own very well. We have to help them, Chris. Mom is on edge with us, in potential danger. Any mother would, no matter how old her children are. I focus on my fight and help Haley whenever she needs it. EXP is being shared right now. In all honesty, I could do all the work and they would be just fine getting levels. I'm doing this so they learn how to fight and adapt on the fly. Many of the monsters in the tunnel have been killed by me. Haley has killed more than I thought she could by herself, so kudos to her. Since there aren't so many now, I'm going to draw them back to you guys and you can take care of some. Marcus, get your better offensive spells ready, and don't hit Mom and Dad. My mom is about to protest, but before she can, I grab Haley and backflip onto the ceiling and jump off it and land behind my parents. I set Haley down and watch the monsters begin their approach. Well, what are you guys waiting for? As soon as I say those words, Dad leaps into the fight with Mom supporting him as she fights with her sword too. Marcus is doing an excellent job of not hitting our parents and is being a great help. My sister almost jumps in as well. I put my hand on her shoulder and stop her. We will switch out when I see them struggling. They need this, Haley, give them some time. She relaxes at my words as the fight continues. They are doing a great job of fighting and killing. However, the numbers they are up against are a little too much for them. They are starting to falter. Okay, let's switch out. You guys take a breather while Haley and I take the rest. They listen with no complaints and I jump into the fight with my sister. We quickly dispatch the monsters, the witnesses making quick work of these weak creatures. After about 45 seconds of dismembering these creatures, we finish with the little nest they had here. I take this time to inspect one of the corpses to see what we were fighting. Dark Dweller LVL.15. 0/3000 HP. Description: a weak creature twisted from being in the dark for its entire life. While weak on its own, it's incredibly strong working with the members of its hive. This must have been a nest they created. The administration is down this tunnel and isn't that much further. I doubt the guys that came in before us can clear this dungeon. They are capable of reaching the boss room, but after losing party members to these pests it would make it impossible to face the boss. My sister is looting the corpses for anything they have. I would too if I didn't already have such good gear, and they will need every bit of scrape they can get. Take a break for a little bit, the boss fight will be hard. While I can handle it myself, I want you guys to experience an actual boss fight. I'll be helping, but you guys will be doing most of the damage. My mom looks at me as if I grew a hand out my ass. As she is about to protest, Dad stops her. He just shakes his head no. She stops and focuses on helping Marcus. I take a seat on one of the dead bodies and relax myself. I don't need to, but it helps with mental fatigue. My sister sits on a body across from me and stares at my sword. May I see your sword? The things it can do is crazy. I see no reason not to. I take it out of its sheath and hold out the handle for her. She grips it and as soon as I let it go it drags her to the ground and crushes her fingers. OWWY. OWW. OWWW. What the hell is this thing made of? Don't just stand there. Lift it up for me. I chuckle and pick it up for her. She looks at it in anger, and just huffs. How can you even move that thing? My fingers were being crushed. This weapon is bound to me, so if anyone else tried to wield it they would experience what Haley just did. I put it back in its sheath. I look at her with a cocky smile. You just aren't worthy enough to wield such an amazing weapon. Perhaps you should work on your character. She winds up and punches my chest super hard. She recoils in pain and starts to whine. I outnumber her stats by thousands, hitting me will be like hitting steel. Have you learned anything from this yet? If you keep being stubborn you're going to keep hurting yourself. She just gives me an annoyed look and rolls her eyes. I hear some laughter behind us and I turn to see Mom and Dad laughing at our antics. If you guys are okay enough to laugh that means we should get moving. The sooner we get that reward the better. My mom reaches out her hand and Marcus grabs it. We start walking down the now open tunnel, this one is pitch black. Your only responsibility from this point onwards is to light up the area, Marcus. He lights a fire in his hand and lets it hover in front of me so I can see where I'm going. After a few minutes of walking we come to a huge platform area with a catwalk above it. That catwalk is attached to a huge underground building. I'd bet piles of gold that the boss is in that building. It's like a long warehouse with fair height. Let me handle the first bit of the battle to see where it is in strength. I'll deem if it's okay for you guys to join in on the fight. I hop onto the massive platform and walk towards the stairs that go to the catwalk. I make my way up and look at the single door that goes into the building. This is going to be an interesting battle. I open the door and look inside, total pitch darkness. My family is soon behind me looking in as well. Marcus sends in some light and we see it. The boss creature. It is hard to describe, it's as dark as the darkness surrounding it and it has 2 heads and 2 tails. I start to walk in, but I feel someone grip my shoulder. I already know who it is. It'll be fine, Mom. You can leave everything to me. She lets me go and I walk in. Change of plans. I don't want my family trying to fight this thing in the slightest. I have no idea what it is, dark dwellers are new for me as well as this thing. I approach it as my family enters the room behind me. I use inspect on this thing to see what I can learn about it. Nightmare Fiend LVL.30 Dungeon Boss 25,000/25,000 HP. Description: a nightmare fiend is a manifestation of fears that any living creature dreams. A dark nexus uses the local inhabitants to create something of nightmares. No nightmare fiend is the exact same. The younger a nightmare fiend is, the weaker it is. If allowed to grow, it will be strong enough to destroy a city. Chapter 120, The Dungeons v. I can easily kill this boss with one strike of my sword. What concerns me is the darkness nexus that created this thing. I've only heard rumors of darkness nexuses and what I did learn is very limited, one of them being they are extremely difficult to find. Just because this thing is here doesn't mean that the darkness nexus is. I'm going to take care of this thing, it's too strong to let any of you near it. I draw my blade and get ready. I slowly start to make my approach and gauge the situation. I've never fought a nightmare fiend before and I'm staying on the cautious side. The closer I get, the more agitated it gets. It's also ready to fight. It launches at me and tries to strike, but nothing can hit me since I'm way faster. I use my slash skill against its chest and I cut right through it, killing it. I get notifications about EXP and other things, but I don't bother looking at the moment. As soon as the nightmare fiend dies, the area lifts from oppressive darkness. We all get a special screen from the system. Congratulations! Your party is the first to clear this city's dungeon. All of you will receive custom rewards of epic quality or lower. I'll wait for you all to fill out the requests. You have cleared the dungeon. Transporting out of dungeon in 30 seconds. This dungeon can be replayed an infinite amount of times. Dungeons can be replayed and used to level up. Special dungeons like the Devil's Willow and the Ruins of Bandit Lord Husk are one-time dungeons. There is a lot of diversity, and that is something I love about Ancient's world. Let's return to the office room before we fulfill our rewards. I want to talk to you guys about what you should request from the system. A few seconds after we said that, we are transported back to the entrance of the dungeon and we are surrounded by players. I look back at the barrier and see text on it saying the dungeon has been cleared. Many look at us in disbelief. I can believe that reaction. Most of you aren't ready for this dungeon, so a word of advice. Get to at least level 25 before trying this. So can you all please move, we would like to go home now. The group of players part and we make our way out of the area. My family is being very silent right now. I'd like to know how much they leveled up. Speaking of levels and stats, I'd like to check mine. Plus 20% EXP. Plus 100/EXP. Slayer, Zirn, LVL.51. EXP, 65/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden, plus 3 more. Stats. Strength, 2095 Endurance, 2045 Dexterity, 2125 Speed, 2240 Focus, 13545. Health, 16,560/16,560 Mana, 135450/135450. Stat points, 270 Armor rating, 500. Inventory. Passive perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills. Heaven's Light LVL.7325/700 Protected by Heaven LVL.7225/700/LVL.174600/8000 Parry LVL.180/100 Double Strike N/A King Slayer N/A Raging Machine N/A Winged Glory Angelic Flight. I read the notifications about the EXP I earned throughout that entire dungeon. 20% EXP for my entire level is pretty good considering I was much higher level than everything in there. Not having that half EXP debuff is nice, and once I make it back to my continent I'll be leveling up fast. I also want to know what my family's levels are now. How much did you guys level up? I'm guessing around 9 or 10 times. My sister looks the happiest out of everyone. She was the highest level right under Dad, so they both have pretty good levels now. Haley comes up beside me and whispers her level to me. She made it to level 24 after that dungeon dive. That means Dad might be around 25 or 26. My dad just says his and it's at 25, Mom and Marcus are the same level of 21. I'd like for all of them to be higher levels, but this will do fine. We make our way back to the building slowly. We enter the lobby and head for the stairs. The part I hate about this place the most is the stairs. We make it to our floor and room after a 6-minute trek up the stairs. I take a seat in the single office chair. The rest of my family finds spots for themselves. They all take a break and just relax. They are all exhausted since they had to fight creatures around their level. I'll let them rest for a little bit before I start to tell them what to ask for from the system. Now that the power leveling is done, the bittersweet part of this adventure is right around the corner. I look at my mom and I can tell that is all she is thinking about. As the T.A.W family takes a load off, Sir Ericsson is in the lobby of a giant building. I was told this is where they went. The people in this lobby said they are a few levels lower than the top floor. The person everyone has been searching for is up there, with his entire family. I make my way to the stairs and start my ascent. This is a good place to keep away from others. If what happened in the park didn't happen, then he would still be anonymous. As I'm climbing, I hear a voice from behind me trying to catch up. Hey! I want to talk to him too. I have some things I need to say. I know that voice. I turn my head and see V reaching the steps I'm on. Story has it Zirn slaughtered him and his group. He probably isn't going up there to cause any problems, but I want to speak to Zirn alone. I make a sigh and pinch the bridge of my nose. If he doesn't take no for an answer, then I'll have to kill him here. I want to speak to Zirn alone. If you want to speak with him, then you will have to wait until I'm done. He nods his head yes and starts to walk up with me. You will wait at the end of the hall until I'm done speaking. Once I take my leave, you can talk to him. I give the order without looking at him. V is a talented young man, with a good head on his shoulders. If anything, he is coming up here to apologize. We spend the next several minutes walking up the long stairwell. I need to be very careful with my words, he can easily kill me. I just want to leave a good impression and try to talk about joining my guild. If he indicates I'm pushing too hard, then I'll stop. We make it to the floor they are on and I can hear laughing from one of the rooms. Must be having a moment with his family, hate to interrupt it. I make my way to the room as V stays at the end of the hall like we agreed. I make it to the doorway and look inside. I see a happy family of 5. They all stop what they are doing and look at me. I look between them and see the man I came here for. He is a heartbreaker for sure with those looks. His whole family is beautiful. Ever since being stuck here, I've gained my youth back. I wish I had these looks though. Talk about a beautiful family. May we help you with something? Who? I assume the mother speaks first. I don't want to be rude and just enter without permission. I give a gesture asking to come in and she nods her head. I walk into the medium-sized room and see the love and dedication a mother puts into it. You have a lovely home. She looks at me knowing I didn't come here for anything related to that. This family is something you don't see often. I came here because I heard about what happened in the park. Zirn has left an impression on many people. The lady gives me a confused look. I look towards the young man and see him looking at me with calculation. He must be seeing how I'll handle this situation. Why is he acting like this? Does his family not talk about being secretive? Keeping it from your family takes a strong will. I was wondering if I could speak to that young man over there. I'm here to ask about what he knows about the gentleman in the park. The mother gives me a look of disapproval. She must not consider them gentlemen. The young man who is Zirn stands up and walks in front of me. He is slightly taller than I am. The pressure he gives off is crazy. If you want to talk to me, you are going to have to wait until tomorrow. If you are that serious about talking, meet me at the old hospital. I want time with my family right now. I listen and nod my head yes and make my exit. I start to walk down the hall and see V getting ready to head to the room too. I stop him by his shoulder and shake my head no. He takes the hint and starts to head downstairs with me.